We started at one end of the district and went to the other. The state of Oregon does have an Oregon Department of Education checklist that outlines all the elements within the building at which you're supposed to look. So, and then they have levels of evaluation. What is a minor repair? What is a moderate repair? Which is a high repair? What is a replace? And they give you criteria so that you can evaluate it. The point is that the statewide, they want consistent evaluations. So the process that we went through was using their assessment. So you can imagine the tour of Dry Hollow was pretty short because all the classrooms are fairly consistent and they had consistent problems throughout. So we knew what to look for. The high school took a lot of time because you have multiple buildings. The state thinks you have 4 buildings, and so each one of those buildings had to be observed individually. So our review is only one part of the puzzle. We also have a mechanical engineer who comes in and looks at the heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system and the plumbing systems, and they're looking at the technical performance and the age of that equipment. And they have the same kind of criteria to use to evaluate its level of repair. We have an electrical engineer who does the same thing. They walk around the entire perimeter of the building, every room, and then they look at electrical panels and power coming into the building. Again, they do that level of detail. We have a structural engineer who walks through in everything that is observable. They can make a record of that. So that is really an observable system evaluation. There is a whole separate program that is funded by the state that the school district has gone through, which is a seismic reinforcement grant program, a separate evaluation of the structure. The last piece that I mentioned is we have a civil engineer, and the civil engineer looks at utilities, the connections of utilities, power into the building, water, storm water, cracks in the pavement. Everybody uses a similar check sheet, and we compile all that and put it into a single report. So it's a pretty simple formula. It's called a facility condition index. So what you do is you do the assessment, find out all of the cost of repairs, and you compare the repair cost to replacement cost. And that number, that proportion, that percentage becomes the FCI. So if you could build a brand new Chenoweth for $10 million, then if you had $3 million worth of repairs required to just fix it, that would get a FCI, or a percentage of 0.30, or 30% of the cost of repair compared to $10 million of brand new school. That's the criteria that the state wants to apply to this FCI condition. And what's really important, this isn't us. This isn't the state's evaluation. This is a published standard of building maintenance facilities. Anything above a 30 means that the school or the building is in desperate need of significant repairs. So everything above a 3.1, you really need to evaluate. This is a major investment in fixing it. In all cases, not just maintenance, it's fixing those things that have exceeded their longevity, their life. So once you start looking at all of those costs compared to replacement costs, that really tells you the condition that you need to invest some time and money in those. Colonel Wright had a 33. Let's see. Dry Hollow was 27 because it's a little newer, but there's caveats to this, and I'll come back to the caveats. The Dallas High School was 30.46, and middle school, good example, 1.6. That school is in pretty good shape because it's new. And then Watonka scored a 47. So the FCI is a great number. It is a published standard, but the Educational adequacy is our way of kind of going through and determining what is the condition of the schools in terms of delivering teaching and learning. The process for actually doing the educational adequacy assessment was really straightforward. All we did was facilitate a process. So we gathered a collection of teachers, administrators, and even some folks in in student services. And we went through each school individually and evaluated like 8 criteria. And they gave a score for that. We limited their scoring to 3 numbers. 3 being adequate, that's a good score. 2, marginally adequate, and then 1 is totally inadequate, needs to be addressed. We asked those teachers and administrators to give us the scores, and all we did was record them and come up with a process that we could do a quantitative assessment of their qualitative evaluation. The high school scored a 1.4.
So what does that say?
That says that it's very close to being totally inadequate. That's a pretty tough score, but if you look at the criteria, the school is not set up for contemporary teaching and learning. There's not enough space for students. The Chat and Chew can only handle about maybe 80 kids, so kids leave campus. The beautiful gymnasium, beautiful weight rooms, but it's separated from the main building. They have to go outside. The teachers do a great job with what they have, but they also recognize that there aren't enough support systems for them to be effective. This high school sits on about a 4-acre site. If you were starting new, a high school site wants to be 20 to 40 acres. Again, that's why all the sports teams and athletic teams play down. Back when the building was built, the play field, football field, natural stadium was it, and that was okay. That was adequate for the needs at that time. Now we have teams for boys, girls, JV, freshmen, and where are all these kids supposed to play?